Welcome to the Reno Design Show virtual edition. This year we're coming to you online because of course we can't all be together. It's been amazing how everybody has adapted, and so have many of the businesses and exhibitors that you would have seen at the show this year. So it's wonderful to have another one back with us. Comoda Renovations were with us in 2019.
Correct.
Christine, thank you for coming back in 2020.
Of course, yeah.
It's still been a pretty busy year for you guys.
It really still has been. We had a little bit of a lull around that. 23rd of March seems to be the day that it all kind of
The world
started
changed.
in Brisbane.
Yeah.
So we had a bit of a lull in March and April where we had not so much clients cancelling. No one ended up cancelling, but we did have some people who hadn't started their renovation just postpone, because it's much easier if we haven't already ripped out half of your house to kind of push it back. But after about 6 weeks of us realising that thankfully in Brisbane it wasn't hitting as hard as it has in other parts of the world, we've picked up again since early June, and we're just as, if not busy, than previous years.
Which is exciting to hear, because we know you've been keeping lots of people happy for a very long time. Comoda Renovations, you're pretty unique in a lot of ways, aren't you? Because you cover off on so many different things.
So we started off about 5 or 6 years ago as a small bathroom kitchen company. It was kind of a one-man band with Prince, who's the director of the company. And then it really grew. So I came on board in 2015 and we started taking on bigger projects. My background's in design. I have a design degree. And we just started getting bigger and bigger to the point where we realised we wanted to offer something in the industry that I don't think there's a lot of in a Brisbane context.
And why is that? Like, why do you think, what were you doing differently?
I think the thing that we have really well is that because we're an in-house team, and us personally as 2 people, and we've since grown to having 6 people in our team now, we bring different strengths. So his background is construction and building. My background is more organisational and design. But we work really well together, that we kind of nut a lot of that out for a client without them having to be the middle ground between the designer and the builder.
Because it is taking those first steps and deciding, okay, I'm going to renovate or I'm going to build. Like, it's a big decision, you know, there's a lot of money involved. So to step in where you've got a couple of people who focus on different aspects of that is really important.
And it's really great because it also mitigates a lot of the tension points that I think clients get if they just engage a designer or they just engage a builder, is that we're never going to propose a design that is outside of either the scope of what's possible, because it's removing a structural wall or something like that, or outside of what we know the client's budget is, because we build it, so we know how much it's going to cost.
So you're able to be very realistic and honest about what the plans will be.
Definitely.
What do you think when people come to you, what is the thing that people struggle with the most, or remaining realistic about things? Is it budget? Is it...
It's probably different for different clients. The biggest one that we probably find is because we initially started doing more kind of single rooms in houses, it was that understanding of how your life is affected by somebody being in your house and renovating your house. It doesn't matter how well our boys do, how courteous they are, how great of a job that we do. At the end of it, you're so glad to see us go, because it's just living through that process.
I love the honesty.
People don't expect that. They don't think about the actual build process and how that flips their lives upside down.
So that's a conversation you have with them initially?
Yes, we promote as much as is feasible for people to find alternative accommodation. For most clients, it actually monetarily works out better. We've done the experiment with a lot of clients going, if you move out and let us do it, it will cost you this much, and then they can price up an Airbnb or a temporary accommodation, and they're normally ahead a couple of $1,000s and better night's sleep, a better marriage relationship, all of those things.
Because they are the stresses a lot of people aren't anticipating. If you've never renovated before or built, there's kind of those side issues that you're raising that people might not be aware of.
Yeah, and we're in your space all day, every day. Like, someone shows up at 7, it's where you go to sleep, there's dust. It's just a process to be aware of.
So people come to you, they speak to you both from a building perspective and a design perspective. That inspiration, will they come to you with those ideas, or is that the sort of thing that you help them with?
It's different for different clients. So some people will come and they know that they want something different. They want to update their house, but they're not really sure what they want to put in or what kind of style they're after. Other clients, this is the thing that they have been planning for 10 years. So they come with their like scrapbook mood boards and 500 Pinterest images, and they have this big vision that we then need to help them kind of direct into the right avenue that works for their house and their budget and their timeline.
And so then you would go in with them through those palette selections, colours, all that sort of thing?
Yeah, we like to get to start them by being drawn to the things that they like. So we don't really market ourselves as designing a specific style. We really try to do what we call like co-creation, where we help them turn their vision into what they want to do. So we get them to look at inspiration, figure out what it is about that they like. Like, is that image because of a fear, because of a specific desk lamp, which helps us narrow it down as well. And then once we get that view, then we can start going into selections. And there's a particular way that I like to walk clients through selections. Like, you don't pick the paint color first, because I guarantee you will always find a paint color that ties everything together
At the end?
at the end, because there's the most options for that. So pick either the feature things or the stuff that, you know, there's only 5 options for or 10 options for. So like a kitchen benchtop color, that's got the most limited amount of choices. So start there.
So start there. And so then you work your way through. Give us an idea of that process, of the different stages you need to work through.
So you need to work through your overall idea of what you want the space to achieve. Then you need to turn that into reality for the space that you're working with, because you might be drawn to these fantastic images of these huge houses and you live in a 2-bedroom unit in Toowong, that the style that they're achieving just can't be completely translated because you just don't have the scale for it. So we first look at how we translate what they're after into the physical space. Then we go through making sure what they're after fits within budgetary constraints, because that's a very realistic constraint for a lot of clients. And then we get them into our offices and we do a selection with them, and we step them through that particular process.
So you have all those options there with you?
We do, yeah. So we have a studio that has all of the stone samples, paint samples, laminate colours. We can't hold all of Brisbane's tiles and things like that.
No.
So we will go shopping with you for tiles, fixtures and fittings, but the key building things, we have all of that.
But I love that idea as well, that you will help them with that shopping, because it actually is quite overwhelming. When you say we don't have all of Brisbane's tiles, that's because there are so many out there and there's so much to choose from. And actually even trying to narrow that down, it's not like buying a dress, it's much bigger.
And what I like to do, and since the last home show, Mim, another interior designer, has been working more with us, is if we take them into a Beaumont Tiles or Groove Tiles or any kind of tile shop in Brisbane, I like to sort of get them into the centre and bring tiles to them. And then if we can't sort of agree on anything, then we do a bit of a walk around, because I think if you walk into those and you see the amount of choices, it's a lot. It can be overwhelming.
One thing I've heard, we hear regularly, I guess, when we're talking about reno and design, is taking the time to actually, you need to invest the time.
Yeah, don't think if you're doing 2 bathrooms, a kitchen, a living area, that you can allocate 9 till 12 on a Saturday morning and we're going to be able to go around and make all of them, because you don't have the time, and you end up getting decision fatigue, where at the end of it, you'll make decisions just so the process is over, not because they're actually something that you're wanting to put in your home.
And it's meant to be enjoyable. Yes. Like, you know, the thing is, it's nice if you take some time with it as well. You kind of have some memories at the end, don't you, of when you went to the tile shop with Christine and what happened. And so to enjoy the process. And I feel like that's what you're about as well, making sure people enjoy the process.
We do. So that one of our taglines is that it shouldn't be worth it at the end, where it should be a process that you're excited to go through. And one of the big things that we get feedback from clients a lot is that initial process of us coming to shops with them and sort of helping direct them through that, made them feel much more confident in what are their own decisions at the end of the day, that they've had that second sounding board to kind of go, okay, you want to go with a whitish tone, but this one's picking up a blue and it shouldn't, let's go with this.
And important to do those things on your own or with your friends or with your husband
Yeah.
or your wife, but also to have an expert who can
Yeah.
spot that stuff, who might not be able to pick up those really particular things that you're talking about.
Yeah, it blows people's minds all the time, the amount of different whites that there are, and that if you just say I want white, that can mean 1,000 shades.
So once that's all done, you've made all those choices, you've done it together,
Yeah.
then the vision pretty much has to come to life, and that's when the building begins.
Correct. So we will collate it all together for you, because we're involved in the building process as designers. Cross-check that everything functionally works, so we don't get 3 weeks in and the plumber calls and goes, the toilet you picked is a skew pan and it should have been an S-bend. So
Terrible.
we cross all of that off for you. And then you get the same person through the build. So we do the project management. So we don't kind of hand it over and go, not our problem now.
Absolutely. I get the real sense from everything you're saying, and the care and attention you're taking is that you're taking care of people.
Yeah, and we which is why we probably don't do so much of like investment style properties, or we do commercial, but it's more we do a lot of psychology clinics, but they're not big, so like they're one-off people who own it. So people who are invested, and this is, you know, one of the big life stages for them doing this renovation.
So they're putting that love into that renovation, and you're helping them do that.
Yeah, and it's I believe, having worked in other parts of design, it's so much more rewarding seeing that end process, and for it to be decisions that they have had an input in and that they're really happy with, and it's this dream space that they've, you know, maybe had to make some sacrifices along the way, but we can kind of talk through the pros and cons of that during the process. But it's still something that the initial person, from the very first them being interested, it's their space. We just are kind of helping them make it look the best that it can.
Well, thank you for helping me
No
today put our
problem.
virtual day together. Thank you, Comoda Renovations, and really great to have them back in 2020 after really being an important part of the show in 2019. So we will have more right throughout July, right through until the 26th. Look out for all the amazing events on Insta. There's Zooms. There's all sorts of fun things you can join in on. Get some more knowledge, get some more tips and advice, and we'll see you again soon.